Tonight, a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old are facing murder charges after a deadly shooting at a southeast Portland convenience store last month. The two boys were arrested at a home in Vancouver yesterday, where they face new charges. Fox 12's Julia Lopez joins us live from 3D's Market in Portland. Julia, what can you tell us?
I've been talking with 3D's Market regulars who tell me they're still shocked this shooting happened in the first place. The store owner doesn't want to appear on camera, but says the most disturbing thing is how young the alleged shooters are. As the community continues to mourn 33-year-old Santi Rai, the owner of 3D's Market, where he worked in southeast Portland, tells us she's shocked the gunmen arrested for his shooting are, quote, children. On Wednesday, officials arrested two boys, ages 12 and 15, in connection with a different incident in Vancouver just days after the shooting in Portland. Vancouver police responded to that shooting scene near Ellsworth Spring Park, where the two boys were found wounded. One of them told police he had been driving a Kia that was left running in the road. Police determined the car had been stolen from Portland. Inside the car, they found two guns, one of which had also been stolen from Portland. Investigators say the boys wouldn't tell them who shot at them or why, but they found shell casings and evidence nearby that indicated a second group was involved. Nearly a month later, more guns were found inside the home where they were arrested and were seized as evidence. Vancouver police called both juveniles a, quote, significant risk to public safety. In the case of Rai's killing in Portland, the 12-year-old faces a first-degree murder charge, and the 15-year-old faces a charge of second-degree murder. Both face robbery charges and a slew of charges in Clark County, where they remain detained. Neighbors of 3D's Market in Portland tell me they wish there was more police presence in their neighborhood to prevent crimes like this. We talked with a close friend of Santi Rai the week after the shooting, who continues to raise funds for the family he left behind.
The loss we have faced is unbearable for the whole community. I couldn't imagine what their parents, siblings, and then also his wife and two beautiful children are going through.
The two suspects will remain detained in Washington until they're arraigned in Clark County Juvenile Court on the stolen car and firearm charges. That's happening a week from today. It's after that case closes that they'll be extradited to Multnomah County, but that process could take months, the DA's office tells us. The owner of 3D's Market says that she hopes they're tried as adults. The DA's office says that could happen since they're both facing murder charges. Reporting live from Southeast Portland, Julia Lopez, Fox 12 Oregon.